Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between. I'm Amanda. Emily is still studying for the bar, so it's just going to be me tonight, and we are continuing Vampire the Masquerade: Shadows of New York. Now, I know in my last video I said I was going to try to do a pacifist route, but upon a few moments of reflection, I thought to myself, why would I waste my black lipstick on that? And it clearly didn't do me too well in the last the last video, as you saw. I died pretty early, so I'm just gonna do what I can to survive. But let's continue with this. Once again, I find myself in Big Beat Burger. Familiar surroundings, faces I recognize, mood, same as it ever was. Still, I process it in an entirely different way. It all frustrates me now. Or, more precisely, makes me frustrated with myself. It's like I'm clinging to the remnants of a cocoon I've outgrown. Ugh. Ooh. Nice makeover, Julia. It's the same with these cigarettes. I don't need them anymore, so why do I keep holding on to them? Fucking hell, it's like I refuse to accept that I'm something better than I used to be. A vampire. Just 2 nights ago, I met Karen. She embraced me, by which I mean she turned me into a kindred. She calls herself my sire, and me her child. Last night, she taught me the basics of survival: drinking blood, manipulating humans, bending steel, controlling shadows. Tonight, I expected more lessons. Instead, she just told me to go out and enjoy myself. So the dictionary updated. My guess is that it just told me those terms again, but let's just double check what that is. Okay, yeah. What's the catch? I asked, to which she responded, I might kill you if you prove to be a disappointment. There are a few rules I have to uphold. The Masquerade. I can't contact anyone I knew as a human. I can't let anyone realize I'm not human anymore. I can't embrace anyone, and so on. So I could care and embrace her, but she can't embrace anyone. That's odd, but whatever. Otherwise, I'm free to do whatever I want, but for some reason, the first thing I did was come back here. Old habits die hard. Karen is probably watching me from somewhere even now. The way I understand it, tomorrow night she is supposed to introduce me to the Camarilla, a local society of vampires. Turns out they are the ones who have been systematically ruining my life lately. All part of some secret evaluation that I barely passed. Just imagining the reach they have makes me dizzy. After they destroyed the old me that I barely cared about, Karen rebuilt me anew. On one hand, her test left some scars that will take time to heal. On the other hand, maybe I should just be grateful? I'm snapped out of my thoughts by a sudden scream. Some douchebag yelling about his french fries not being salty enough. I think this is my cue to leave. Permanently. Goodbye, BBB. Hope I never see you again. I'm destined for greater things, you see. Okay, so it looks like we've got some different missions that we could probably take on. Ooh. So let's take a look. So I understand the Masquerade. Systematic secrecy of vampires built to conceal our world from humankind in order to protect us. Essentially, the Masquerade is our shield against the fear and ignorance of human beings. Make no bones about it, if the vast majority of people ever learned we exist, we would be hunted to extinction. And yeah, the Camarilla, I remember them from Bloodlines, of course. That's the one that the prince was part of. Okay. So it looks like we have our choice of people that we can go drink from. So I think since she's familiar, or she's at least known in this burger place, and swiping right, you know, that's easy to trace. But I think at a club, that's a bit more easy to fall into, so I'm probably going to go there, just to uphold the Masquerade. This club reeks of death, and I love it. I've been here quite a few times, but I've never seen anything this breathtaking. Everyone around me is whacked out of their minds, and as they keep dancing madly, the spirits dance beside them. Spectral silhouettes phase in and out of existence, becoming more visible the more intense the music grows. It looks like a bizarre ritual, a profane mass. I notice it's the voice samples of the ghosts react to the strongest. The most suggestive ones cause them to appear distorted, even tormented. Spectre. It's as if something was struggling to be born out of the harsh sounds, and the dead were hoping to be reborn alongside it. They're all uneasy, quivering with desire for something far beyond their reach, probably the same as when they were alive. Sometimes the living dancers spot their dead counterparts. It's usually the most manic ones who notice something out of the corner of their eye for only a split second, but never realize what they've glimpsed. Some apparitions dance to a completely different tune than the rest of us, one only they can hear. Those seem the saddest. The spectacle is eerie. At times, it's unbearably melancholic. Above all, it's beautiful. I keep on moving to the rhythm until I reach a trance-like state, and then something even stranger happens. Every now and then, when I brush against someone, a fragmentary vision appears before my eyes. A car burning on a freeway, an outstretched hand in the depths of the sea, a man jumping out of a skyscraper window. Memories of the past? Preventable visions of the future? I have no idea what it means, but I'm strangely eager to find out. And then there are dancers like her, ones that aren't ghosts, humans, or even vampires, but something else altogether. Ghouls? This new world is full of mysteries, and I plan to get to the bottom of them all. But for now, I just want to dance. Oh, okay, so I still have... Okay, then let's just test what I've become by going here, then. Two men are facing each other in a dark back alley. One of them stands with his back against the wall, his chest heaving as he's struggling to catch his breath. Goon. People! Anybody out there? I'm being robbed! A brawny, rugged guy is yelling at metal staircases with a theatrical incredulity in his voice. Yeah, his pose made me think that he's not actually being robbed at all. With a lively step, he dances around an older man who's having trouble finding his footing. Pitiful victim. What is this bullshit? Oh, so now you can talk. Good, because I'm dying to hear what you did to my wallet, Holmes. Wallet? I have no idea what you're talking about. The goon starts prancing around like a Muay Thai boxer. He's smiling, but his eyes send a clear message. You're cornered, buddy. Don't even try to pull a fast one on me. Come on, homeboy. You may be able to trick an average Joe on the street with your act, but a fighter recognizes a fighter. It's like an animal thing. It's an instinct thing. You've got some moves on you. You're like, shit. You're like a black mamba. Lightning fast reflexes. Oh my god, I know these kind of people. Oh my gosh. He starts shadowboxing for a moment. The man's definitely got energy to spare. However, I'm like a king cobra. You've met your match. Two apex predators now locked in a battle. Oh my... Ugh. Oh, so you're seeing snakes? That would explain some Before he's able to finish, a sucker punch knocks the air right out of his lungs. The old man slides down a wall. Before he can let out a groan, he's interrupted by a brutal kick to the chest. That's what I'm talking about. A fighting spirit, even when you're cornered. Ugh. Take a seat, deep breath, collect your thoughts before you speak up again. Remember where you put my wallet now? I think I'm pretty sure you broke my rib. An eye for an eye, a rib for ribbing. Biblical punishment. It's only fair, homie. Fair? At least admit that this is a mugging. Wallet my ass. Still in denial. Okay, let's say I had about 5,000 bucks in there. Give me 6 grand and I'll let you walk away. Relatively unharmed. So you admit it. Admit what? That this is not about proper compensation. This is a robbery. Look, buddy, this is beginning to bore me. Unless you want me to go all Anderson Silva on your ass. Oh my God. Give me what I want. Anderson Silva? Yeah, Anderson Silva. A flying knee meeting your solar plexus. The man, the myth, the legend. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Thai boxing, Western boxing, Taekwondo, Wing Chun, and Capoeira combined in a single fighting style that can only be described as a straight-up murder. I've been studying the glorious singularity that is Anderson Silva for years. Every move I have, I owe to him, so if you don't want this snake to turn into a deadly spider, show me the money, honey. Summer 2013, Las Vegas. Huh? Watched it live, on pay-per-view. Weidman saw through all of Silva's tricks, whooped his ass, broke his spirit, showed him for a fraud he is. The man hasn't been the same ever since. All the empty showboating, hollow taunting, drunk on his own Kool-Aid. Jesus, of course you idolize him, asshole. I like you. I like you a lot. For a good minute, the goon silently looks down at the whimpering man at his feet, chewing on his lower lip. When he finally speaks up, his voice betrays an intent to kill. You know what, homeboy? Screw the money. This is a matter of honor now. Oh my God. My thoughts exactly. Ha. He raises his fist. We've got ourselves a mixed martial artist expert here, huh? For your own sake, I hope you can back that talk with some self-defense skills, homie. That's enough. This is pathetic. Take a chill pill. I'm gonna say this is pathetic. Boosting your self-esteem by beating up an injured old geezer? God damn, you're pathetic. He jumps at the sound of my voice, turns my way in the blink of an eye, and immediately assumes a combat stance. His reflexes are sharp. Looks like he has at least this much to back up all his bravado. Wannabe Anderson Silva's face betrays utter confusion upon seeing me. He's got no idea how I managed to sneak up on him. I don't blame him. I wouldn't be able to explain it myself. It felt like I became one with the darkness, my pure consciousness traversing a dusky dreamscape, jumping from one shadow to another as if they were different trains of thought. I think of some experiences I've had with psychedelics. Every blink an adventure. I was outside of this alley. Blink. I was above the alley. Blink. Now I'm in front of this guy. And he pisses me off. The older man slumps down. Looks like he was trying his best to keep it together and gave up once the cavalry arrived. The goon regains his composure and barks at me in an overly gruff way. The hell you sneaking around here for, chica? Move along. This is between men. Not anymore. His fist turned toward me. I'm serious. I'm an equal opportunity ass kicker. I respond to the threat with the brightest, most innocent, virginal smile I can put on. So you're into shadow boxing, huh? Yeah, oh, that is a bright, innocent smile, Julia. Something comes over me. I can feel the darkness embracing me, whispering sweet nothings in my ear, pumping me up for what's to come. So the reverse elbow, I think, is that. The crane kick is, you know, the... Whoa. I think I'm gonna do a low spinning sweep just to knock him to the floor. I've always wanted to try this. I zoom in, duck below his fist, and sweep him off his feet with a powerful roundhouse kick. Yeah. It's probably the dumbest, flashiest thing I could have done, but I'm feeling more confident than ever. He flies into the air, only managing not to fall because of the wall behind him. I know what he's thinking. I should have blocked it! And he absolutely should have. But instead, he just flailed his arms helplessly, as if he suddenly found himself in front of an oncoming train, a primal expression of fear that suddenly and completely took him over. I don't know how I look right now, but judging by his expression, my best guess is like the gaping maw of some primordial beast. I follow up the surprise attack with another punch to the solar plexus, or at least my nearest estimate. Once again, the effect terrifies even myself. Looks like my hunch was correct and I hit the right spot. He falls to the floor, whining like a wounded animal, tears streaming down his face. I let him collect himself a bit, then grab him by his chin. Learn to choose your battles, homeboy. Let me go! Let me, for Christ's sake, just let me go! I kick him in the direction of the alley entrance. He staggers off, quickly disappearing from my sight. I check on his victim. Looks like he's conscious. Wow, you whooped his ass, girl! But he hasn't noticed anything out of order. Good. I was getting worried I might have overdone it a bit. That woman did say that keeping a low profile would be crucial if I want to survive. You alright? Need help? He managed to stand up. His smile is strained, but it suggests he's fine, or at least trying his best to seem fine. No, you gave me all the help I needed, and then some. Thank you, miss. What's your name? Jessica. Thanks, Jessica. I was worried for a second, but this asshole's bark was worse than his bite. He's probably in worse shape than me now. I guess that counts as a victory. I'd better get going. My wife is probably worried sick. But before that, if there's anything I could do to repay you... Just be more careful. We're to celebrate well. Now, I'm just going to say just be more careful. I feel like either the other two ones would just draw more attention or just make things worse, so I'll just say just be more careful. Forget about it. Just be a little more careful in the future, alright? A true heroine always refuses compensation for her help. At least, that's how I think things should go. Never thought I'd help someone in a street fight. Here's something else, Jessica. You never wanted to try your skills in the octagon? Too much in love with my gorgeous face to see it bruised, battered, and swollen. Sorry. I hear you. Whatever you do next, God bless you. There he goes. God, I feel like one right now. No more worrying about being out after midnight. No more feeling uneasy whenever I spot a shady asshole across the street, ever. Hell, I could start jogging in Central Park after midnight now. Not that I need to. The future's looking bright. Wow, what a night. I watch Times Square from above. It's beautiful. Never thought this place could make me emotional, to be honest, but here I am, feeling deeply moved. Who would have thought? Getting up here was surprisingly easy, all things considered. It took more thought than physical effort. Earlier tonight, I started experimenting with this body's limits. I realized I can jump over small buildings and climb steep walls with ease now, and my whole perception of space has shifted. I planned a scenic route across the rooftops. I did my best to avoid attracting attention, just as I was told. Stayed in the shadows as much as humanly possible. I spot a drone from afar. For a second, I feel uneasy, but I remember what she told me. Machines won't get a clear view of me anymore. Camera footage, photos, it's all glitched out or blurry. Wouldn't take it for granted if I didn't try to catch my reflection earlier on. I couldn't see my face clearly, not in the mirror, not even in a puddle. My face was like one of Dali's clocks. She told me to keep a low profile regardless. Someone might take note and track you down. She didn't care to elaborate, but it didn't sound encouraging. Suddenly it hits me that I might never be able to see my own face again. I wouldn't even be able to take care of my looks by myself. And what about the long-term psychological effects? A knot of anxiety tightens in my stomach. Jesus, this is probably just the tip of the iceberg. What else is going to change? Calm down. Wait a second. These past few nights have been the best of my life. For years, I was on a downward spiral, failing health, no future, a feeling of overwhelming powerlessness. Now everything has been flipped upside down, a total paradigm shift. A bad ending is no longer the only option. I'm actually looking forward to tomorrow. I forgot how that feels. The ad in the back, I like that. It says in the palm of your hand. Probably just a little characterization right there. Where it used to stand at mere seconds to midnight, the doomsday clock has been effectively turned off. A cold breeze brushes my cheek. As stupid as it sounds, I choose to read it as the world telling me to chin up. I can bend anyone to my will. I am capable of superhuman strength. I am a master of shadows. I can do anything. Tomorrow night, I will be introduced to my duties. If everything goes according to plan, I'll become a New York City representative of Clan Lasombra. Whoever they are, whatever that means, I have no idea what to expect. But tonight is tonight. I'm free. All my worries from a month ago feel like they belong to someone else. Finally, things are looking up. March 2020. Back at it again at Big Beat Burger. Familiar sounds, familiar smells, familiar faces. Yet again, I'm recalling that night when everything finally seemed to change for the better. I mean, it's not like I wasn't expecting everything to go back to the old depressing normal. Even in the thick of it, the rational part of me recognized my state as temporary. But with these highs, there's always a hope that it won't end, or maybe that an ego death will finally occur. Be satisfied, you stupid fucking bitch, I command you. Here's all the logical evidence for why you should be satisfied. Here's the obvious direction for your life, and here's a detailed explanation of how you should treat the people that care for you. No dice. I always fall back into the same old habits. It's like they were encoded deep in my DNA. The aimlessness, the powerlessness, the spiritual exhaustion, these goddamn fast food trips. The stupid fucking self-loathing, now amplified whenever I drink somebody's blood. Maybe I should just blame it all on the misfortune of my birth. You do this social climbing until you dissociate, and then you are just this untethered, constantly frustrated ball of dumb desires. Except I'm sort of immortal right now and need to figure out what to do next. So after a year, she's still kind of the same. I watched this obscure Asian movie once. Eli Lema Sabachthani, starring Tadanobu Asano, one of the coolest guys in the world. He plays this Merzbow-like figure, a legendary noise musician. There's this mysterious virus spreading around the world, causing despair and mass suicides. A rich CEO's granddaughter gets sick and longs to die, so he spends a fortune searching for the cure. Turns out Asano and his friend, played by this violent onsen geisha guy, are traveling through Japan, searching the corpse-strewn towns and fields for any unique item that can produce beautiful sounds. As it turns out, the avant-garde walls of noise they create are able to heal the infected. This CEO begs the band to help, offering them all the money they want, but for some reason they refuse. Through a series of flashbacks, concerts, and vignettes, a mystery unfolds. Eventually, we realize that Asano's music is not just a remedy, it's also a cure of the virus. Whenever it connects with people, they get this hunger for more extreme, more novel experiences. And eventually they hit a wall. Nothing can satisfy them anymore. They lose their will to live. Not even the musicians are spared from his curse. They know the end will come sooner or later. The girl is saved by a mind-blowing concert, but the tragedy is merely postponed, not averted. The last shot of a Jesus-like Asano silently considering his role as savior and destroyer stayed with me. The form of the film is abrasive. Little to no narrative coherence, some weird, cartoonish creative choices, the Japanese noise soundtrack, the very free-form and hard-to-understand weave of themes. But at this point, movies like this are all that truly connect with me. I'm the New York City representative of the Lasombra clan now, also known as the Night Clan. They are masters of shadows who cast distorted reflections and make modern tech go haywire in their presence. Last year, a few months before I was embraced, the Lasombra had joined with the Camarilla, the biggest and most traditional sect in the vampire world. The two groups actually used to fight each other, but our leaders found some intel that made them reconsider their strategy, so they sent a diplomatic mission to parley with their historical enemies. The deal they got in Chicago was simple: an unlife for an unlife. For every Lasombra vampire allowed into the Ivory Tower, one Lasombra vampire has to meet their ultimate end. So what is the Ivory Tower? Another name for the Camarilla, usually used in a less official, occasionally. Oh, okay. Okay, Clan Lasombra, that's us, the Night Clan. Our other kindred call us Magisters, Abyss Mystics, or Turncoats, if they want to drive home the fact that many Lasombras switched sex in recent years. The way Karen told the story, we used to be the brains behind the Sabbat, a pretty nasty group working in opposition to the Camarilla. They've since left for the Middle East for the most part, but a sizable chunk of my clan opted out and changed sides. Traditionally, we were entrenched in the Catholic Church back in Europe, but not for mystical reasons. Our path was that of coercion and puppetry, so pulling the strings of important religious leaders was just a means to an end. The Night Clan is also borderline Darwinian in their philosophy about embracing new members. The shittiest period of my life was fully orchestrated by Karen in order to see if I was a good Lasombra material. They do not care for losers who just take it lying down. Then there's the dark. I'm still coming to grips with it, but apparently shadows aren't just absences of light to us. They're openings to some kind of hell, and we can wield them or use them to connect with the dead. The downside? We share a classic vampire feature in that we don't really have clear reflections. This also transfers to not playing well with cameras and by extension having issues dealing with technology in general. Okay. I still remember the name of the woman who met her final death so I could begin my unlife. Her name was Hester Reed. Ooh, a sworn enemy of the Camarilla, a guerrilla fighter who spent decades opposing them. I love the Scarlet Letter reference. Hester Prynne was Scarlet Letter, never mind. She was someone with far better principles than mine, from what I've gathered. Well, whoever she was, her execution by my sire served to convince the NYC elites to give us Lasombra a chance. Then they set out to look for a mutually agreed upon candidate who become the clan's rep in the city. My sire searched for someone who gave the impression she was more than she appeared. The local court was looking for someone they could walk all over. After long negotiations, they decided I was a good compromise. They proceeded to systematically destroy my entire life just to make me show I was psychologically strong enough to join their ranks. The turncoat special, they called it. Somehow, I succeeded. And it eventually led me right back to where I started. I stopped writing and put my pen down. Will that be all? Yes, Miss Duvall, I hope you enjoy your stay in London. Oh, I very much doubt I will. Just like every cultured person, I think the only good Englishman is a dead Englishman. Well, I'm not going to say fucked up serial killer just because that's what I am now. I'm not going to say get the hell out, I feel that's rude, but privileged scum is also rude, but it looks like I'm saying this to myself. Must be nice, traveling the world and all that. Caracas, Mogadishu, Shanghai, the blood tastes the same anywhere you go. The biggest difference is that your duties become more of a hassle. Ms. Duvall, every word you uttered tonight just made you even more punchable. That will be all. Tell Kadir I said hello and farewell. Safe travels. Don't let the door hit you on the way out, psycho. Oh well. I'm the lone Lasombra in this town, and my representational role means jack shit. No title, no perks, no whatever. Right now, I'm the court's gopher, doing all sorts of work nobody else will touch. Which is kind of what she said she did at the newspaper. Let's take a look at the court. I'm pretty sure the court is just what? Kindred hierarchy of rule, basically feudalism by another name. You had the prince at the top, Primogen beneath him or her, a sheriff who answers, okay, yeah. And so on. Matters are handled in secret sanctuaries called Elysiums. Note this structure applies at the city level. Beyond that, the Camarilla's organization gets absurdly Byzantine. Okay, yeah, so this is just like in Bloodlines where, you know, the prince, there was like the prince of Los Angeles, I think. My main duties? Being a sort of immigration officer. See, New York City is probably the biggest vampire travel hub in the USA, and definitely the biggest one on the East Coast. Almost every kindred arriving from Africa and Europe comes through here. The local Camarilla is nuts about bureaucracy and population control, so every vampire leaving or arriving in this town is supposed to check with me to inform me about their travels. Well, in theory at least. The VIPs play by the different rules. They take care of this stuff through connections and servants. But for the smaller fish, I'm like the vampire Statue of Liberty. The first bloodsucker every kindred coming to NYC should see. On paper, anyway. The first after the prince, or Kadir, the Primogen Council, these things vary. Yeah, I'm a naturally traitorous Lasombra, so they prefer being traditional and hands-on about these things. As I said, at the end of the day, I'm just a gopher, and this work only serves to remind me that I'm not quite in, just standing at the gate. They haven't even given me an office. I just meet everyone in public places, such as coffee shops or this fast food restaurant. Some consider this an insult and lash out at me, but luckily most of them understand we're in the same boat. Only here because we're curs who need to be reminded of our place from time to time. Speaking of, my last client is 15 minutes late, and I still have more errands to run tonight. This is getting irritating. To be honest, I should find some self-respect and just leave. But I won't. My sorry upbringing left me with this stupid sense of responsibility. 10 more minutes pass. Eventually, an unfamiliar woman appears by the door. She tells someone to stand by the door, and walks in. Long chestnut hair, body stuck in her late teens, by the look of it. A fashionable scarf covering most of her face. Elegant clothes, dignified walk. I signal her to sit in front of me, trying my best not to let my impatience show. She obliges. Took your time, huh? Here to check in. Let's just get on with it. See, I'm not going to say took your time. I don't know. Maybe my customer service is moving in. But I feel like, I don't know, she should get some self-respect. Well, she did say she's trying her best not to let my impatience show, so I'll just say here to check in. You're here to check in? I am. Julia Sowinski, I presume? She's scanning her surroundings like we're at a circus. I hope you don't mind if I make it quick. I'm needed in Elysium. Name? Catherine Weiss. Huh, I swear I've heard that name before. Someone else's description of her crosses my mind. That weird lady who owns the art hole but is never there? Weird. So it is her. Catherine Weiss, owner of the art hole, de facto headquarters of the New York City Camarilla. I'm glad I didn't say anything snooty. For fuck's sake, Julia, what are you doing calling her weird right off the bat? God knows you've already made a fool of yourself in front of enough VIPs in this city. Recover. I'm sorry, it's just that I still don't know many people there, so I have to go by the descriptions I'm given by members of Primogen. Well, the description is mostly correct. Outside of the one word that slightly perplexes me. Pot calling the kettle black sounds like. Oh, from what I gathered, it's just that your interests are rumored to be, not fully aligned with the Camarillas. and it irks some folks up there. Being a keeper of the Elysium is not enough for some, I see. I suspected as much, but what can you do? She seems chill. Good. Anyway, Catherine Weiss. Wow. Yes, want me to spell it? People often have trouble getting it right. Forgive my indiscretion, it's just that people of your stature usually don't bother checking in with me. They usually report their arrival to one of the Primogen, and they make all the arrangements. I hear Prince Panhard is busy with the preparations for her big party. I assume that if I spared her some paperwork, she'd appreciate it as a gesture of goodwill. Besides, I wanted to meet the infamous Lasombra representative out of sheer curiosity. My interest peaked once I heard about her. She looks around knowingly. Unique circumstances. Yes, Prince Helen Panhard had trouble justifying this exorbitant rent my property would need. That's literally pennies for her. And as far as I know, she's been sitting on an empty property since last year. Looks like they've got it out for you. Bad. That's what I assumed, but it's nice to get a confirmation. Well, it's not like my clan has been particularly popular in these parts. At least that's what I've heard. Sins of the fathers and so on. Yes, just to make sure, you've never met Hester, but you know of her? I do know I wouldn't be here if not for her. Have you two met? No, I only heard of her once or twice. We had similar outlooks on many issues, although we tended to come up with completely different solutions. In any case, I think it's meaningful that Hester died so that you could live. They feared her. Now they fear you, and that's why they're keeping you down. If anyone who's not a VIP said this to me, I'd laugh in their face. Oh, I get what she's doing. She's trying to buy my favors. Best not to act like I'm easy to please. Stick to business. Time will tell. In the meantime, I'll need you to help me out with my documentation. Of course. So where are you coming from? Washington, D.C. She says it the way people in Hollywood movies say it. The way she suggests her Washington is widely different from the Washington you and I see. What were you doing there? Take a guess. Government work? Write that down. It ought to amuse Helen a little bit. If you say so. Date and hour of arrival? She takes out a plane ticket and slides it toward me. It's all here. 1 a.m. Got it. Method of transit. Plane. Purpose of visit? Meeting with Prince ought to work just fine. I guess. Estimated duration of visit? Undefined. Write in 6 months if you really need to. Place of accommodation. Conditions of intended stay. The art hole. Conditions should be adequate. You tell me. I tend to be happy with Airbnb. Home sweet home? I'm not certain that I ever felt particularly at home here. That makes 2 of us. Curious. Do you have nothing holding you here? The face of a blonde-haired friend appears in my mind's eye, vanishes. There's nothing holding me anywhere. I see. Prolonged silence. She stares into my eyes, and I return the stare. She's studying me. It's unnerving, but I do my best not to turn away. Eventually, she smiles. Didn't you say you were short on time? Oh god, yes, Kadir will kill me. I quickly begin to collect my stuff from underneath the table. You can simply inform him that I paid you a visit. He'll understand, and I'll pass it on to everyone who should be in the know. I'll just say need anything else. Because I feel like the other 2 are kind of too casual. Do you need anything else? I'm fine. I was about to ask you that myself. You're the one asking questions here. That's all from me. Good. We will see each other soon, I hope. The party tomorrow night? I wasn't invited. She gives me a pitying look. I understand. Well, if not given the opportunity, we should make our own. I'll be in touch. Good night, Miss Weiss. I hope you a pleasant stay. I wish you a pleasant stay. Good night. And don't rush these things. You've got your whole life ahead of you, and you're in a position where you can take it easy. Take your time. Get a different perspective. I nod and walk slowly out the door. When I lose sight of the restaurant, I sprint toward the subway. Slow night? I wish. You're late again, by the way. I hope you have a good excuse. Kadir al-Asmai, the mighty sheriff of New York City, is not happy with me. No wonder. I met him in front of Elysium 30 minutes later than the time we had agreed upon. Yes, well, Catherine fucking Weiss decided to arrive fashionably late. A likely story. She's supposed to be out of the city. If you think I'm pulling your leg, boss, feel free to check my report. I pass him all the official papers, the way I do every other night. Kadir stares me down for a good few seconds, then his steely gaze softens. You're serious. Weiss McDonald's, with the mask and elegant clothes, surrounded by the smell of French fries and hamburger patties. That must have been one hell of a sight. Technically, it was BBB, not McDonald's. But yeah, God, I made such a fool of myself. First thing I did, I quoted somebody calling her a weirdo. I wanted to die on the spot. Serves you right, you walking faux pas. I've been trying to teach you to control your tongue, but you never learn. It's a new gaffe every week with you. Still, there's good news and bad news is. The good news and bad news. The good news is Catherine has a fondness for vampires of humble beginnings. Probably why she decided to see you in your, shall we say, natural habitat. She's one of those rich art scene assholes who seek out working class cred. I did say something about watching your tongue. The bad news is, she is very astute, so she can recognize a moron like you straight away. You never stood a chance at impressing her. Oh, shut up. You still need me for anything here? I'll get on it straight away. I wouldn't be standing here chatting with you if I hadn't taken care of my duties. 30 minutes is all it took to finish preparations for the big party. I'm about to see everyone off. Sorry. Couldn't be helped, I suppose, and it's more your loss than mine. I just wanted some company tonight, and you could really use the chance to appear here on an official duty so everyone can get to know your face. Heaven knows your fast food job isn't going to get you anywhere. You need to, what do they call it? Hustle? You don't need to tell me that, but it's not like being paraded around for a bunch of blue-blooded douchebags is. He somehow manages to give me a painful nudge in the back without so much of a hint of visible movement. Language, you fool. They're coming out. Just stand here in silence for 5 minutes and focus on not embarrassing yourself any further, will you? Got it. The first two silhouettes appear in the doorway of the art hole. An old man in a wheelchair pushed forward by his young servant. Haven't seen either of them before. Mr. Payne, the night is still young. Hope you find the rest of it pleasant. Payne, the wheelchair. I've heard of him. Addison Payne, one of the American Camarilla's main connections to the government and Wall Street. Disabled in quite a few ways. Needs a servant to communicate. I'd be full of resentment if I was embraced in this condition, but apparently Payne is nothing but grateful for his immortality. He keeps writing fervent defenses of the traditions in Camarilla customs. Sorry, your stay silent. So, Kadir told me to be quiet. And this is a Camarilla traditionalist, so that he probably would not like it if I spoke with him. Because of the way the clans are, so I'm probably going to be quiet. He wordlessly shakes Kadir's hand, but doesn't even deign to acknowledge me. At least his servant gives me a small bow. I return it. They leave. Kadir turns to the next person leaving. Hi, Regent. Can't wait to see you in your outfit. Spare me, Sheriff. These fancy dress parties cause me enough suffering without your help. I can only hope you haven't conspired with Helen to embarrass me with this gift. She points to a shrink-wrapped set of clothes she's carrying inside her coat. Kadir smirks briefly. I didn't have to. As well, you know, Prince Panhard displays a considerable foresight in the matter of party planning. Yes, if there's one thing she's deathly serious about, it's frivolities. A recognizably mortal quality, especially for a prince. We ought to celebrate it, not oppose it. Don't worry, Sheriff. I'm a big girl who knows her etiquette. I will play your game, amuse the crowd a little bit, and return to my study as fast as possible. Aisling Sturbridge, High Regent of the Chantry of the Five Boroughs, a hero of the Battle of New York, the biggest warlock in town. Could be a prince herself if she didn't have her eyes on a bigger prize. The thing is, nobody knows what that prize is. They only know it has something to do with the goal of her thaumaturgical research. Whoever tried to find out what it is failed, violently. Oh, I'm sure you're going to have fun. Miss Sowinski here has just informed me Catherine Weiss is back in town. It is safe to assume she will join our festivities. You're kidding me. It was her for sure. She did say she'll attend a party. Yeah, I'll say she did say she will attend the party. It's not safe to assume, it's certain. She told me she'll be here tomorrow night. Wise. Excellent. I'd love to catch up with her. The barely concealed venom in her voice clearly suggests that, in fact, she'd hate to catch up with her. Yes, it looks like tomorrow night will be very special, but for now, I bid you adieu. And she's gone. Is there some kind of story between Aisling and Weiss that I should be aware of? You could say that. High Regent Sturbridge once attempted to call for a blood hunt on Weiss. Wow, why? I've heard 5 different versions of the story, and all of them seem plausible. Catherine's relationship with the city is odd, to say the least, but hush for now. So let's see what a blood hunt is. A punishment sentencing a vampire to final death at the fangs of their peers. The code of the kindred and the system for punishing transgression is the law of retaliation. Oh, okay. He's obviously trying to kill the conversation, and the appearance of Thomas Arturo gives him a perfect way out. Mr. Arturo? Ah, Alasmai. Keep up the good work, eh? Of course. Thomas Arturo, an architect by trade, he's a herald, a member of Prince Panhard's inner circle, an eccentric whose thoughts seem to be 10 times faster than his words. I'll just say good night. Good night, Mr. Arturo. Ah, yes, yes. He disappears into the night. Well, that was brief. Maybe I should stand in their way. That might force them to properly acknowledge my existence. You severely underestimate their dedication to ignoring whelps like you. And just in case you're serious, I beg of you, don't. I've been meaning to ask you this for a while, but never had the opportunity. You really hate Arturo's guts, don't you? He carefully measures his diplomatic response. I have no strong feelings about Thomas Arturo whatsoever. Yeah, well, considering you're always listing positives about every local Camarilla representative under the moon, you might as well have called him a language whelp. And as for Arturo, I will share my opinion about him as soon as I come up with one that sticks for more than a week. A group of kindred emerges from the art hole, rushing towards the street. Only a noble-looking woman stops next to us. She's wearing a hijab, but curiously enough, doesn't hide her hair beneath it. Primogen? If you were rude enough to stare, you'd quickly notice the cloth serves mostly to cover up her horrifying scars. Kadir. Oh, and young Julia. I'm doing my best not to stare because Samira is one of the few NYC Camarilla figures who hasn't been an asshole to me yet. Still here, did the prince require the clan of the Hunt's counsel on some matter? Yes, I advised her that no matter how hard she tries, she shouldn't expect me to wear a different costume tomorrow night. She's the Banu Hakim primogem. Just like the Lasombra, their clan was independent from the Camarilla until relatively recently. However, they negotiated a better deal than we did. They have a primogen, for one. Hailing from the Middle East, the Banu Hakim are drawn to the practice of justice. The rules must be upheld, and every transgression punished. They don't have much say in NYC, but the prince often seeks their judgment. It's just good PR. I trust she was understanding. Those are beautiful clothes. Thank you so much. I'm eager to see the outfit you came up with. And how are you, Julia? Have you seen any lights at the end of the tunnel? Same old, same old. I'm not even invited. Yeah, I've seen one. Since she is nice, part of me wonders if I should say I'm not even invited, because she is addressing me by, my name. So I feel like I can be a tiny bit more casual with Samira. So I'll say I'm not even invited with her. But they haven't even invited me to the party tomorrow. Sorry to hear that. I trust you're pestering the prince and your superiors to improve your standing. Okay, yeah, I like that. Yeah, she's being nice to me. It's a process. Oh, Julia, Julia, you won't achieve anything if you don't keep reaching for it. Kadir, weren't you supposed to teach her the ropes? Okay, yeah, I like her a lot. I'm trying to, Primogen, but with this child, it's always a process. I can only wish you good luck then. Good night, Julia. Good night, Kadir. Good night. Have a safe trip. The art hole has to be almost empty by now. You like her, don't you? Stop with your class clown act, whelp. It only serves to reveal deep insecurities. Wow, that's harsh. It's factual, whereas harsh as you claim. She did tell us to both call her Samira, but you're still keeping your distance with that primogen shit. Watch your profanity, and don't project your fantasies onto me. I won't give you a lesson about professional boundaries, but I suspect the way you will eventually learn it will be extremely unpleasant. Am I interrupting something, good folks? Look at that stupid smile on his face. He looks like a car salesman. Even though I'm constantly pestering him, Kadir's composure is unshaken. His response comes swift and unfazed. Not all, Mr. Van der Weyden. Heading back to your office. You know me, my dear sheriff. Where else would I go? Now that's curious, even though Carter Van der Weyden is a primogen as well. Malkavian, to be precise. I don't hear Kadir address him as such. Hope to see you tomorrow night. Oh, I will absolutely show up, provided I can. But just in case, I already apologize for not making it to the prince, simply drowning in work these days. The rhythms, tempo, and intonation patterns of his voice are so familiar. Half of it sounds like JFK, the other half exactly like Barack Obama. And just like his appearance, it all feels so fake. He's old money, of course. Comes from a long line of Dutch merchants who originally settled in the New York region, runs a wildly successful law office, rubs elbows with elites of both kindred and kind varieties alike. He seems perfect in every way, and that's why he's so unnerving. He's a child of Malkuv and must be blighted with some affliction. But whatever it is, he doesn't let it show. Hard to wonder what he's hiding. Hard not to wonder what he's hiding. The celebrations are planned to last all week. Surely you will find the time. I pray I will, my good man. I pray I will. In case you need to reach me, you know where to find me. Have a good one. He doesn't even register my presence before leaving. Sometimes I think they're all still hoping I will simply go away. As Carter drives away in his limousine, Kadir shakes his head. You wanted to hear about which members of the New York City Camarilla I dislike the most? Yes. He shoots me a knowing glance and smirks. Too bad. They're all my dear colleagues, and I deeply respect every single one of them. Sure you do. Wouldn't want to blurt out something that could lock you out of Mr. Van der Weyden's legal service. Would you ass-kisser? I do expect to find myself in need of a good defense attorney when my broke, incompetent, and foul-mouthed assistant finally pushes me over the edge. Rude. Do you still need me here? I still need to swing by St. Patrick's tonight. Don't worry, we're almost done. The prince is coming out. The captain is the last person to leave the ship, huh? And there she is, Helen Panhard, the big kahuna, as someone I once knew would call her, the de facto ruler of New York City, and a self-professed patron of the arts. Kadir, a penny for your thoughts? You should be pleased to hear the High Regent is resigned to her fate, my prince. Mr. Vanderweyden is decidedly not. I suspect he'll be too busy to join the festivities all the week, though. Excellent. She turns to me. Miss Sowinski, weren't you supposed to accompany our good sheriff in his duties tonight? There was an unexpected change of plans. Catherine Weiss is back in the city. Catherine is here. Now that's a welcoming surprise. But what does it have to do with you, Miss Sowinski? I took care of her paperwork. She wants to amuse herself. Kadir knows all the details. I'll say I took care of her paperwork. She said she didn't want to trouble you with all the paperwork regarding her arrival, Prince Panhard. It's all been taken care of. Kadir has already been informed of everything. That's certainly a nice gesture, but wait a minute now. Where exactly did you meet her? In a fast food restaurant, my prince. I see. Helen rubs her eyes. Catherine and her love for proletarian amusement. I suppose it will be a source of amusing anecdotes this week. If we want to avoid these situations in the future, it might be a good time to discuss offering Miss Sowinski an office of her own. We'll get to it eventually. There are more pressing matters at hand. The festivities start tomorrow, and there's still so much to be done. Will you make sure the art hole is secure before leaving? Certainly, my prince. Have a good night. Good night, Kadir. Good night, Miss Sowinski. We'll talk about your work soon, don't worry. Of course. Good night, Prince Panhard. A chauffeur escorts her to a limo. There's an awkward silence between me and Kadir until the car disappears around the corner. More pressing matters, huh? A penny for your thoughts, Sheriff? I'm certain an image of a keeper of the Elysium stuck in a fast food restaurant will linger in Prince Panhard's mind. You're far closer to your goal than you were a few minutes ago. I'm pretty sure I've heard you say something to that effect a few times now. And I stand by my words. Rome wasn't built in a day, Julia. As a Camarilla loyalist, don't you think it sucks that the Ivory Tower is so hell-bent on showing disrespect to my clan, they're actually willing to make fools of themselves in the process? We've all had to endure our own hazing rituals. But yes, the current situation is not ideal. Whatever. Need a hand closing up the Elysium? I'll manage. It's getting late. Better run. Some shadow in Chicago is probably impatient to get a copy of the reports you've given me. You've pleased one master, now it's time to please the other. Yeah, here's the thing about working for two masters. Neither of them really thinks of you as their own. Not knowing how to reply, Kadir shrugs. I wave to him goodbye and head for the subway. When I reach St. Patrick's Cathedral, I'm greeted by a voice that grates on me like teeth on tin foil. Well, well, well. The prodigal daughter returns. Oh my god, no. This is the one thing I didn't want to happen. Julia, please. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord, thy God, in vain. Uh-huh. Where's Father Leonard? His clergy duties keep him from getting here on time. He sent me to apologize in his name and keep you company for a few minutes. That's the second thing he ought to apologize for. He just wants his flock to live in unity. I am more than willing to oblige him. Why won't you? For the last time, I'm not part of his flock. We have a purely professional arrangement. I know you see it that way. The Night Clan's tendency to stick close to the Catholic Church is their greatest virtue, but they can still consider this relationship purely instrumental. This is why we need kindred like you to bring the spiritual change to your clan, to make them understand God's precious gifts. The closer they get to the light, the greater their shadows will become. Again with his insufferable sermonizing. Benoit Segal is the local nutjob and ex-artist, a degenerate who has some sort of complete mental breakdown in the 90s. To recover, he took to religion for solace and guidance. At first, he proclaimed his readiness to devote the rest of his unlife to studying Nautism. After a few years, though, he changed his mind and joined the Catholic Church instead. Let's see what this is. The religious beliefs and studies pertaining to the origins of the kindred, the myth of Cain, the legend OG vampire. Okay, so this is something that Beckett was studying in Bloodlines. As luck would have it, his neophyte seal found a major target in me. When I first met him, I was stupid enough to tell him I was raised Catholic and still identified as such, somewhat. He immediately pictured me as some sort of force for change within the Camarilla, and set out to put me back on the righteous path. Now he won't stop preaching to me apparently until I become a nun. Remember, the darkest place is directly beneath the candle. You turncoats have this unfortunate predisposition to find salvation right within your grasp, and then lose your way in the shadows. Christ, once he starts, he just won't stop. I guess it's time to bring out the big guns. By the way, I was meaning to ask, got any news about Sophie Langley? A painful grimace crosses his face, but doesn't linger. Kind of rude to change the subject, you know. Rude? I'm just looking for a topic both sides of the conversation would care about. You know, like any guide on etiquette says you should. Salvation is a topic close to anyone's heart, whether they admit it or not, and it's pretty bold of you to assume I still care about Langley. I do not assume, I'm certain you do. The second she retires from the public eye, you stop acting like Jesus-era Kanye and start acting like Jesus' King-era Kanye. Coincidence? I've never had a Jesus era. Do people really call it that? Here's how it's going to work. Tell me what you know. I'll tell you what they say. And keep in mind, I didn't know she was your sire until a few nights ago. Hell, I haven't even met her. He winces a bit at me saying hell, but lets it go. Sure, I figure you would have prodded the wound long ago if you knew, but what do you care anyway? Better to let you drone on about your tormented past than to let you carry on with your good missionary shtick. Professional curiosity. Once a journalist, always a journalist. He scratches his head, then exhales in a sad mockery of a chuckle. Fine then, I'll do my best to make it short. Just like you said, Sophie Langley, every New York kindred's beloved socialite, was my sire. We first met some time after World War II. I left France right before the Nazis went around them. Mine that line. I struggled to keep my siblings alive with my art. Watched my brother die during the flu epidemic in '43. I was close to losing my mind. That's when she showed up. Said the sheer torment in my works caught her eye. She became my patron, allowed my talents to flourish, and supported me financially. Eventually, she embraced me. As a well-off kindred, my artistic interests stuck to naturally deviate from what they used to be back when I was a poor mortal upstart. I began to see the world the way her social circle does. And that she couldn't forgive. Instead of being a fun novelty, I became just another part of the malaise surrounding her. She grew distant, then stopped seeing me altogether. I've had my share of meltdowns because of this, I won't deny that. I locked myself out of many career opportunities, but it was an important lesson. Don't trust your elders. Vampirism affects them psychologically as well. If they take an interest in you, they won't stop until they suck your soul dry, and then discard you like a broken toy. For the first time since I've known him, Seagull registers to me as something other than a Bible-thumping nuisance. Is it compassion I feel? Do I find him relatable? How dreadful. It's possible he's strategically trying to elicit sympathy. Maybe he heard about my dramatic exit from Lodestar, and maybe he's just alluding to the way my sire left me here to defend myself. It is only God who will never lead you astray. That is why I find your act so frustrating, Julia. You're so close to getting it, but you choose to sin instead. There's the Benoit seagull I know. Almost had me fooled. Let's get back on track. What about Langley's disappearance from the city? Her path was a road to perdition. Wherever she ended up, I doubt she's too happy about it. She had plans for the future of the city, wanted to make it her ultimate artwork. She was always the vain one. And of course, you are completely sure you have nothing to do with her disappearance? Please don't tell me you're getting at what I think you're getting at. Everybody says you've been acting like you're trying to repent for something ever since her vanishing act, and you've got a motive. Of course, I'm getting at what you think I'm getting at. Benoit shakes his head. You really have the devil in your heart, Julia. Always testing me. Just asking what everyone's thinking. Are they now? Listen, I'm familiar with a lot of the insults attached to my name in the city. Those aren't exactly compatible with the image of a ruthless killer. Killer, huh? Now that's interesting. I haven't said anything about killing. He scrubs his hands over his forehead and collects himself before responding. Stop picking apart every word I say in this completely unpleasant way. Here's a statement if you really want one, Miss Hercule Poirot. I do believe Sophie, the way I knew her, has met her end. Even if she's still walking this earth, she wouldn't come back here as the same prideful aristocrat. She'd have to undergo a spiritual rebirth. Someone has reminded her of her place. Her former friends talk of her in hushed voices. Even that servant play toy of hers went missing. No more Camarilla parties. She's done for. Whatever happened to her, I don't know. I swear on Jesus and his sandals, I had nothing to do with it. But yes, I'm still here and she's not. And it's not a reason to gloat. But to be more humble, I received a sign from God telling me to re-examine in all the unfortunate ways I still resemble Sophie Langley. And I listened. I rejected the pride I shared with her. I renewed my vows to God, recommitted to preaching his greatness. I mean, this is why we're having the conversation in the first place. Right now, when I think of Langley's influence on my life, I am grateful, because she was a sign that got me here. And, if God wills it, maybe one day you'll look at her the same way, Julia. Mental note, whenever he circles back to this preachy tone, it's time to intervene. Alright. If it makes you feel any better, I think the only way a wimp like you could have hurt her was by boring her to death with Bible quotes. Now then, quid pro quo, tit for tat, you were saying people still talk about me. I was curious if... Oh, look who's finally here! Stalling for time worked. Father Leonard rushes in our direction, carrying a folder of documents under his arm. I assume it's the one I came here for. Father Leonard. Christ be praised, Julia. Yesterday I was told this is how priests greet their parishioners in Eastern Europe. Forever and ever, amen. Actually, I think we said each other's lines. Never mind. Another long night? Isn't it taking a toll on you? No need to worry. These days I sleep a few hours a day, short naps take care of the rest, and there's always work to be done. I apologize for being late. At least I managed to get here before you and Benoit went for each other's throats. Good, I was getting worried. Oh, who do you take me for, Father? He takes you for a total bozo who is about as effective at converting people as a documentary about pedophilia in the Catholic Church. He's just too kind to say it out loud. Ouch. Hear what I have to deal with, Father. But don't worry, we'll make a saint out of her yet. Forget saint. For now, I'd settle for an adult in the room. He's 70 years older. That's what you are. Passive-aggressive much. That's what you're for. I'll just be a little... I feel like saying that's what you're there for is a little bit nicer than the other two. So I'll say that's what you're for. Isn't that what you are for? I've been patient with that role, but... By now, you kids should be moving out, not leaving crayon marks on the walls and throwing food around anytime Daddy's not looking. So let's just focus on our grown-up duties, shall we, Julia? Here. He gives me a folder he was carrying with him, and I pass him the reports I wrote earlier tonight. Among kindred, it's common knowledge that the Catholic Church is one of the Lasombra's greatest assets. Hell, it might even be one of the main reasons the Camarilla is slowly warming up to the clan. We are technologically impaired, and as such woefully unprepared to face the challenges of communicating in the 21st century. Hard to handle advanced encryption when you can't even unlock a smartphone. This is where the Vatican connections enter the picture. A web of priests scattered around the world exchange our dispatches between each other, making sure they all reach their destinations in total secrecy. I was told not everyone in the Holy See is friendly to our kind, but the most shrewd and talented usually are. You could say that they're more like a mortal Camarilla, better than any intelligence agency. Remember what happened to John Paul I when he attempted to uncover the workings of the Institute for the Works of Religion? Death after 33 days of papacy, rumors of CIA and Masonic involvement. Not that Father Leonard has anything to do with any of this. For a Catholic priest, he's all right. He'd probably have me stay a believer a few years longer than I did had I known him as a teenager. Leonard is intelligent, kind, helpful toward his parishioners, treats his superiors with a healthy dose of skepticism, and is not involved in any sort of political church games. Well, at least not beyond helping me contact my bosses in Chicago every other night or so. He knows about the kindred, and he knows about the Second Inquisition. He opted to avoid the latter in order to keep the former from oppression, because according to him, it's the right thing to do. I know there's got to be something wrong with him, some selfish motivation maybe, and I haven't nailed it down yet, but it doesn't feel like he's making an effort to hide it, so I'll give him a pass. By the way, I hope you don't mind, I finally took the liberty of asking how your parents are doing. Thank you, Father, but you shouldn't have. Not a problem. A priest at St. Stanislaus Kostka is a good friend. He says your parents started showing up every Sunday again. Front rows, your father is looking better and better. It makes me feel nothing, but I still give him a token nod and a grateful smile. Thank you, Father Leonard. Now if you'll excuse me, the sunrise is almost here. Yes, be careful and God bless you. Amen. Goodbye, Julia. I'll let you off the hook this time, but next time you won't be so lucky, alright? Sure, just one more thing on my never-ending list of events I'm not looking forward to. Guess it's time to call it a night. And I think that'll be it for me, my time to call this video a night. But it looks like we've just been introduced to our cast of characters, or an even bigger cast of characters for this story, so what do you guys think so far? I kind of like Kadir and Samira. I know that she kind of rips Kadir the wrong way, but I do like him. But what do you think about Catherine Weiss? It sounds like that she's a big deal. What do you think about Sophie Langley? I think there's going to be a mystery unfolding, but let me know what your theories are. For now, I'm Amanda. This is Am&M. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Click that subscribe button, and leave us a comment below. But we'll see you next time in Vampire the Masquerade. Bye!